everybody, and welcome. My name is Sasha Gilbert, and I'll be your host this evening. Tonight, we are talking about mental health awareness for the month of May and how financial literacy can help. And I'm so excited about tonight. My very good friend, Mr. Brandon Smith, will be joining us from Florida. So, welcome, Brandon. Awesome to have you tonight.
Wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. Brandon, you and I met through business about a year and a half ago.
Yes,
And where did we meet?
right by a fireplace.
We
Uh,
did.
Yep,
Phoenix,
Phoenix, Arizona.
Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. I swear that place is a city of angels. Um,
Yeah, I agree. What was so cool about you, Brandon, was I was very unapproachable. Very unapproachable. For those of you watching, he really shouldn't have talked to me, but he did. And our conversation naturally drifted towards spiritual matters and mental health type, positive thinking kind of issues. And it's just been the best year and a half with you, Brandon. I'm so grateful for you.
and same, it was just destined to happen, especially with these conversations right here. And it's because I think it wasn't me that found you. You wanted me to talk to you. That's how it worked. But like when you did that, cause Sasha, you're doing incredible things. When reaching out to the public and spreading this message. This message has by far, I think it's going to have the greatest impact on our society, bar none. This is one of the most important topics to talk about, and you're hitting it. Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more. And honestly, if it hadn't been for you stepping alongside me in that journey, who knows where we would be today. But a couple of weeks ago, we did a webinar about domestic violence. And
Sure.
so I'm even more excited about tonight's topic because I'm very passionate about what we can do to normalize these conversations. We don't talk about domestic violence, we don't talk about mental health. We don't even really talk about money unless we're complaining about government and politics. And so I'm really, really excited to see the conversation that we're going to have this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. What do you say?
Oh, I'm so ready for this. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Well, Brandon, you and I have had these conversations so many times, actually. But do we even really know as a society what it looks like to have good mental health? We have toxic traits, we have just things we deal with in life. And I'm not sure if some people really know what it looks like and feels like to be mentally healthy. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. And a lot of times as parents, we can look at ourselves in the mirror. Some of the things that we have done that get driven into our subconscious happen at such a young age. When you are listening in the background with something, if you have something on the television playing, that's entering into that child's subconscious and they're sucking it up like a sponge. That's why kids have such an excellent memory, and it's good to work their minds when they're young. But when we talk about these habits, these are the things that you're not told by your parents. They watch actions. And this has happened time and time again. And you could see if good habits were established in the home or if that parent had good habits. Because subconsciously, you'll see it in someone's eye, whether they're looking at a checkbook, a bill, or anything that has to do with financial matters in their life, like how that stacks out.
Absolutely. I'll never forget a couple of conversations that you and I had, and one was about our mental paradigm and that subconscious that you just described that is formed, by what, the age of 6, I believe.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
we also we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'll never forget this, and I just burned mine in the fire pit and did that final releasing of it, but we did this workbook about letting go of limiting beliefs. Remember that?
I do remember that.
Boy, that was so intense, and, I'm just wondering, and we don't need to go into the details, but
No.
I'm curious, of those limiting beliefs that you encountered, how many would you say came from your younger years, as a child?
Oh my gosh. All of them. um,
Wow.
you know, um, it really doesn't matter. We could talk about like some people, you will meet some of the sweetest people in your life. that will give out some of the best comments and talk about how beautiful someone is, how great they are at things. But when they look at themselves in a mirror, they say, "Oh, you're horrible. Oh, I hate my hair. Oh, my face is ugly." And I'm telling you, every time that they beat themselves down like that, and they do it subconsciously, it's subconscious. It just happens automatically. And unless you're aware of those thoughts and those thoughts that turn into habits and behaviors and display on the outside world, it's going to change. Like that's how it works.
Yeah.
All of them, all my limiting beliefs.
Some of my stuff did come from childhood, but
Yeah.
some of it came from very difficult relationships as an adult that I allowed a lot of the toxic traits and the negative things to really sink into me. And
Mhm.
it probably, well, let's see, you and I have known each other about a year and a half. So it took about 1 year, 4 months, maybe, to actually deal with that and let it go. So for those of you watching, if you do not feel that you have the best mental health, don't give up because you can decide to address that issue. You can get help. You can collaborate with someone like I did and just surround yourself with people that will build you up, that will lead you down a different path, and you'll be able to find some healing. And we'll be sharing, actually, I'll put that on the screen right now. There is a national hotline number. So if anybody watching is struggling with, deep depression, and just some serious mental health issues, please reach out. Reach out to me, reach out to Brandon, call the national hotline, call a local church, anybody that you can reach out to so that you are not alone.
And may I emphasize on that? And that goes for the veteran community. Man, so many times we see so many strong people, they're strong leaders. And, it's hard to come along with beside someone. But right now, there's no doubt that you're meant to be here, or else you wouldn't have seen this in the first place. Please take advantage of the resources here. And when you have us in the veteran community and the national hotline, realize that you're not by yourself. And dude, there's other strong people out here, and it doesn't mean that you're weak.
That is so true. Brandon, why don't you tell our viewers just a little bit about your experience?
Well, with me, I come from the Marine Corps. This is where my life really blossomed and where mental health really became one of those topics. As I went through, I was going for my dental degree, just so you kind of know. I was going for my dental degree and I had it all planned out. My life was completely planned out. I was going to go in, I was going to start, I was going to graduate by the time I was 32, start working in my practice in the dental field, retire at 38, and I was going to be done. I was going to be working my practice. But the Marine Corps, we don't have a medical program. And I didn't know that I was going to be going on a couple of deployments in between that time. And while as I was sitting there studying a surgical technique journal, I realized that, well, I was working on my dexterity and I realized that I wouldn't be able to do it because of my back. Because of those issues right there, if I was to miss something, a little detail, there's so many, your mouth tells you so many things about your health. If I would have missed something like that and someone was to die from that, then that would have just defeated my whole purpose of being. All the times I'm like, being there for my brothers in combat. But then at the same time with this out here was something so preventable. And my whole life, it crashed at that point in time because I couldn't rely on my body. All my life, I've been working in um, farms. I've pulled tobacco. I've cut wood, could do drywall, could do any of this stuff. But now all that was taken away from me, and I had to recreate my identity all over again. And when I didn't realize who I was, if you would have seen me 2 years ago, I didn't even recognize me. I don't even think my friends recognized me. Not only was I overweight, leading to depression, I didn't really know where I was going. But that in that moment when I really caught myself because I couldn't carry my daughter up the steps anymore, like when I
Mm.
almost fell with my daughter because my body couldn't take it anymore, I had to recreate everything. And you know what? I didn't do it for me. I did it for my children. And
Right.
because it took a lot for me to come from myself and realize that I had more to give and accept that challenge, that personal responsibility, realizing that no one's coming to help me. There is no one coming to help. This is one of those battles that you have to take up by yourself. but realize that you have other people that are in this journey right here with you side by side that won't fail you, or at least they're a stepping stone getting where you want to go.
Wow, that's incredible. And I know we work with a lot of veterans
Yeah.
and we've had some of these conversations. So, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, everyone, is the Veterans Hotline number. You can dial that and then press one, and that is available 24/7. If you need help, please reach out. And now we're going to talk about something that definitely affects our mental health, either in a negative way or a positive way, and that's money. I mean, I've been divorced, and I have to say that the majority of our problems actually came from financial stress. And we were so young. We had 6 children together. I was going to school full time, working full time, active in our church and community. I mean, it was stressful, but it was the financial stress that I just didn't know how to deal with that, and so I would lash out, and, it just caused so many problems. What are your thoughts on that?
When financial literacy, that will cause issues, and I relate it to uh, again those habits and those patterns. Well, if you were to be around, think about the examples that you've had in your past that have taught you about money. As we come out of school, our parents are those examples, but then from there, you only have just a very limited options. It's college, military, entrepreneur, or you're still trying to figure it out, or
Right.
whatever, whatever that is. Well, whatever we were thinking in the past, what we got to realize is that we're not in the old days anymore. The way that we look at money has to change. We get all these pressures and things, and we feel so limited. But it's horrible, and I'm not no way promoting it. But COVID literally opened up the world. Right now, everyone is on the same field. It doesn't matter if you're a multi-million-dollar company or a teenager. I know a teenager now that started off as landscaping business and now makes over 18 million. I mean,
Wow.
it's and that started at 13 and now it's 17, 17, 18, making around 18 million. So things have changed.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Well, and with technology, I mean, the whole world is just at your feet and available to you.
yeah.
But I have to say, I personally, I made a lot of common mistakes that people that weren't taught about how money works often make. And so every time I would get an increase in my salary, well, what did we do? We increased our standard of living. And that was a huge mistake. If we would have just kept living at our current standard, our current level, we could have saved and invested that extra money. And that would have had such an impact, not only in the short term, but now when I'm 47. I mean, I would be retired if I would have just done that. And, just some of those common mistakes, the overspending, lack of savings, lack of having an emergency fund. I'm so blessed. Our dishwasher, we just built a new house 3 years ago. We've gone through 2 dishwashers. And my husband, he was kind of tired of it. So he went to Lowe's and he did all the reviews because I don't. I buy what's pretty and what, connects to my phone. But we had a Bosch dishwasher, delivered and installed yesterday. And I don't even know when it's running. But what if we hadn't had that money available? Now, granted, we would have washed dishes by hand, but having that emergency fund really does a lot for your mental health. You sleep better at night. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Oh, absolutely. And with that, I can tell you what I've seen happen over the years. Am I now going on 11 years of being in this industry? Is there's little holes that we compromise on, whether it be subscriptions, it's not putting in the amount of gas that we use, activities for the kids. We can come at the table, but it's these silent killers that take away, that actually hemorrhage out this budget and takes that 20 or $30, or when we're eating out over a year's time, that $3,000 out of our total annual income. When we get that raise, we forget that you only make so much. And with that, you have your responsibilities. And I would highly, highly, highly suggest having a professional go through, even as a third party, go through that process with a couple, if they're a couple or if they're single, because these things are
Absolutely.
hidden killers and they can cause a lot of stress. I mean, a lot of stress. And we all feel it, and we all have we're emotional beings, and sometimes we want to do those things so bad in that moment, or we'll make it up later, but without
Brandon,
having.
do you know what my holes are? That sounded really bad, but my
Oh no.
financial,
Oh
do you
god.
know where the money goes?
um
5, 10 bucks at a time, 20 bucks?
Coffee.
Well, leave my coffee alone, Brandon. We don't talk about my coffee, okay? Eating out.
Eating out.
Eating out is,
Oh
I could drop 20 bucks a day just on myself,
yes.
including a coffee,
Mhm.
because I'm busy. I am working nonstop. Today, I actually almost had a health crisis because we were doing things and I overheated. I hadn't eaten all day. And by the time I got back home, like, I was out of it. I mean, it was pretty detrimental. So, yeah, mine would be KFC, McDonald's, wherever I can go so that I don't have to waste time cooking. And I went through our budget, oh, probably 15, 20 years ago, and I realized that's where all the money was going, was to eating out, and so that had to change. What about you? Anything you wanna share that
Oh,
might help people?
oh, absolutely. There is credit cards.
Oh,
Will hit the
ouch.
credit cards right. That Amazon account. What is your interest on your Amazon account? That's what I want
Leave
to know.
Amazon alone,
Oh
Brandon. There are
no.
certain things we just don't talk about.
Well, and there's also I'm going to talk about something else. It's one of the things that I really don't like, but is necessary, and that's taxes.
Ugh,
So this is something that I like when you're doing your mortgage, because I know a lot of people just paid out their insurance bills and things of that nature. This is a nationwide crisis, but like it's a nationwide, all right, with the insurance. But do you realize that if your escrow doesn't pay off the full amount, that they'll add that to your balance? Well, spread it out over 12 years. Well, then you have less money going towards your principal on your home. So
mhm.
out of that 1,400 that you may pay, 14, 1,800 that you're paying, maybe just 3 or 400 is actually going towards your principal on your balance. Make
Yeah,
sure those are the silent things that when you're with a financial professional, they'll help you see that and think outside the box, and there's no emotional attachment to it, so they can really help you. And with seeing so many cases, that's what we do.
yeah. I was shocked when I met with a financial professional, even just with talking about assets and taxes. What's taxed, what's good, what's better, what's best. Well, yeah, we had some money in savings and, different things like that, but it wasn't earning anything. It wasn't growing. We were being taxed on it. And so there are things, guys, that you don't have to know, but we can put you in touch with people that do. And it can make a huge difference. So let's keep going, Brandon.
Yes.
Some things we can do to reduce financial stress. And I know I hate this word because I hate limitations,
I don't like
but
this
I will
at
tell
all.
you, making a budget is not a limitation on you or your spending. In fact, for me, it gives me a sense of freedom because if I've allocated a certain amount of money, let's just say for hair, nails, whatever it might be, I don't have to feel guilty going and doing those things. It's in the budget. It's like it's very freeing and it does reduce a lot of stress. What are some other things, Brandon, that can really help people?
Oh, when I think about this, what could really open communication,
Mm,
especially in between relationships, that is one of the number one causes of I'm not even going to say that word, but that
yeah.
is the number one cause of it, and it's because of the lack of communication. Um, that's that would and overspending. Always have a grocery list when you go out. That is one of those things that I do not do. Or I made a. The reason why I said is I put myself on a budget. I know that we have our grocery budget, but then I also set some money aside for me. for if I do want to something like if I want some beef jerky, I'm gonna go and grab me some beef jerky because I
Oh, let's be honest, it's not beef jerky. You're the biggest candy eater that I know.
it's how I handle
Former
things.
dental student, and you eat more candy than all 9 of my kids combined. I love it. But, it's funny that you talk about open communication because I think in marriages, there are 2 things that are really hard to talk about:
Mm,
sex and money.
absolutely.
Sex and money. We don't talk about them.
That's
So for
what's
those
true.
of you watching, have a beer or a glass of wine if you need to and have the conversation, whichever one it might be. Have that conversation because it really does help.
Not in the home.
Well,
Don't do
very
it in the
true.
home. If you're going to talk the budget,
Go
I
to
will
neutral ground.
go to
Yeah,
a neutral. Do not do it in the home. Go buy some water. Do something else. Otherwise, that's just going to leave because
that's so smart.
you're thinking about something that's taken years to accumulate, years of habits, years of something that now is to that point. It'll be the same thing if you ate a hamburger and added a pound to your forehead. I bet you would think twice about eating one of those burgers. But with our budget,
Yes.
it's different. And now when we're attacking this, when you finally are aware of it, usually there's a gigantic hole that's already happened. It's not like you're missing $20 here or there. Usually you're
Yeah.
missing 1,000 and you're coming up and you're owing quite a bit more. And then an emergency hits.
Mhm.
It might. I'm sorry, Sasha. I want to tackle this because now it's that time of the year when people are actually getting back tax money, and they actually raise their standards up with that, with their lifestyle, and they don't stick to the plan. And that's something so essential that you realize that this isn't extra money. You got to save this out and go and let that be. Set out your Christmas fund from that or something. Gordy, think about who hasn't made you mad this last Christmas, and just get added to the naughty list. Or
My husband just walked by because y'all know I work from home, and
yeah,
that made me realize he and I had that conversation. I think it was last year during tax season,
mm,
and my heart was just so sad
yeah,
because we went to Walmart
yeah,
and everybody was walking out with 60-inch TVs.
mm,
And, we went in and just bought our normal groceries or medicine, whatever it was we needed. But this year, we did get a little bit of money back, and we had to make a decision. What are we gonna do with it? Well, I invested mine. We kinda split it in half and said, "Okay, what'd you do?" And then I took my half, and I'm like, "I'm investing it, and I'm gonna let it grow and grow and grow." And so we did, and then my husband also did the same. We run a small homestead kind of farm, and he invested it into the property and completely automated everything. So now we can leave for like a week or two at a time, and the animals are all cared for. So I applaud him on that. He did a good job with his half. We'll see how mine turns out. So, but you already know how I feel about building an emergency fund that
yeah.
has saved me so many times. But I gotta say, you've kind of hinted at it. One of the bigger struggles I also faced growing up, especially in my early 20s, was I want it now. And so I would go into debt. Buy now, pay later, 0% for 5 years. Yeah, I mean, it was just I don't like waiting. And I'm still that same way, but now I have the knowledge and the understanding to have that self-control. Do I like waiting? No. Do I know it's what's best for me, my family, and our financial future? Absolutely. What are your thoughts on that?
I was thinking back to when we had to buy our bed. You spend a third of your life in your bed. So I believe that if you're going to spend a third of your life there, you make it feel good, right? And it can be
Yes.
really good. Well, if you're going to use a toothbrush every day, make it good. And so with the bed, this bed would have cost a considerable amount, right? And the interest rate on it was very tempting. But the thing that stopped me and actually made me
Wait, I think I remember this. Did this happen within the last year and a half?
yeah.
I remember this. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is why it hits home. It hits home. And but looking at it, not only did I keep my buying power by paying cash with it, but also what I mean by that is now that my regular income that I have coming in, that wasn't being taken away. My buying power wasn't taken away. And I saved myself several $1,000s in interest that would have accumulated at the end if something didn't happen, right? But if you can go on and pay for it, I would take that hit and do it, or don't do it.
Yes. Or just
Make it a
wait.
goal.
Yeah.
Make it. That's when you pick up a second thing, and then you have a goal. If you have financial goals, that's going to help out a lot right there.
So funny you say that because we have, we got this house 3 years ago and we got brand new furniture for every room in the house
Right.
except the master bedroom.
Right.
So that's going to wait. And so yesterday, my husband was going through the mail and he knows me very well. And he's like, 0% for 5 years at Ashley Furniture. And I just kind of raised my eyebrow at him and he's like, burn pile. And he threw it away because he knows we don't want another payment. And then also, I will be buying an RV and a truck. But I am not going to go take their deal. I'm going to wait until I can walk in with, well, a cashier's check. 'Cause I'm not going to carry that kind of money around. But, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to have $1,000 a month payment
Right.
when I could just wait. And for
Right.
those of you that might want to buy an RV, wait till fall when everybody's done using them and they go on sale. But let's keep going, Brandon, because this is where it starts to get exciting. We work with a company whose entire mission is teaching people about how money works. That's why we know what we know,
Right.
just constant education and growth and learning. And it's something that isn't taught in our school systems. Brandon, I know you and I, neither one of us learned it from our parents, neighbors,
Right.
coworkers. No wonder there are so many problems, and no wonder mental health is being affected. So, what are some things that we can do? And Brandon, I'll give you a clue on the first one you should mention. Do you see it? Do those of you watching see it? Because you know what? I'm going to make myself go big real quick here.
That's it.
Check it
Yeah.
out, guys. Check
Yeah.
it out.
So, when I, this is my 8 year old for this book right here.
Put it
My
in front of
8 year
your
old.
body, then it'll show a little bit better. There you
I
go.
don't know. I've been
Yeah,
working
you,
out
you got
too,
to
by the
raise
way.
it up.
Can you see
But
that? Look at her shoulders.
yeah, I
But
see.
well, speaking of that, this right here, this book right here, it changes the game. And it's not, I'm
Amen.
going to tell you, it's not really the book. The education is one thing, but having a financial professional walk through it with you,
Hmm.
it may seem kind of queasy at first, and you're just like, there's some things like, wow, I don't really know how much that is. I just kind of pay it off. This right here is one of the first tools. You got the awareness now. You realize that maybe there might be some areas that you can improve in. And guess what? It doesn't matter how much you make. You could be here or have 5 million or 20 million in the bank. All of us are on the same level. And this right here levels the playing field for everyone.
It
If
does.
it does, it doesn't matter. You may have heard about a trust baby or something. It doesn't matter. This right here, this book, and having a coach to go with you through you will just completely change your life for years to come. And it is like working a muscle because it hurts at first. When you're
Yeah.
going through your budget, it might hurt. And guess what? You're not
I
alone.
was so embarrassed when I did it. I was mortified. And the financial professional I worked with didn't blink an eye. He made me feel so comfortable.
Right?
But you're absolutely right. Anybody can buy a book. But the problem is this book, although it's amazing, don't get me wrong, it's amazing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't start off with, "Dear Sasha, let's talk about your specific situation." That's where the financial professional comes in. So you can take the principles from the book, but use those principles with your own situation. So you're going to go over creating an emergency fund, protecting you and your family, savings versus investings, long-term goals, short-term goals, problem areas. You're going to go over all of that, and there's
Long-term care.
zero cost, zero obligation. It's part of our mission. So definitely reach out. In fact, Brandon, I'm going to go ahead and put your number at the bottom of the screen here. Everybody already watching should be able to find my number pretty easily. So if any of you want to talk to Brandon about your situation, give him a call, because doing this it just takes the pressure off. You
Yeah.
have a third party that's not emotionally tied to your situation, that will be objective and professional and caring, and will make recommendations that will improve your life, short term and long term. You can't tell me that that's not going to improve your mental health. I mean, Brandon, you and I were just talking, and I shared with you this has been the best year of my life. And I've had 9 kids. If the kids are watching, sorry, I love you all. You're great. Most of you take after mommy, so you're awesome. But no, this has been absolutely the best year of my life, and I think part of that is because that stress was removed.
Yes.
What happened for you when you figured it all out and started making some of these changes?
Uh, one thing is I was confident. So some people, they fake it till they make it. I'm going
Mhm.
to tell you now that money isn't going to solve all your problems. Most of the problems that you have right now aren't, they're money issues. When you refuse to go out with someone to somewhere, it's probably because you don't have the money. If you make excuses or you buy the off-brand and stuff, it's probably because you don't have the money, or you have the money and you just refuse to buy that stuff. I know I do that too, but but at the same
Because you
time,
feel guilty spending it, or you're afraid of giving up that money because what if you don't get more?
well, absolutely. That is so true. One that was the main thing. It changed my confidence. It changed my self image. I was better at business. One, because again, this is intimidating. When you're looking at these numbers, it is intimidating until you know the boogeyman is gone. All
Yes,
right. The
yes.
inflation, the little inflation bubble, the stuff on the news that you see, it goes away because one, you know how much you need for your family. You know where it is. You have your income together. You know that if something happens to you or your parents, that you have or your children, they're all taken care of, and you have that safety net for even in those worst case scenarios. You can go, and I'm going to say, I don't say that I believe different, but when you go to sleep, when you go to sleep, you can go to sleep in peace,
Yes.
knowing that. So it's going to no, and they got my health online too and such. This is something else. If I knew that a camera didn't make me fat, I would stand up right now.
Ah,
But I
I'm
was at
standing up. Come on. I'm like, I'm here.
I was at
But
I was closer to 290 pounds. Can you imagine that a Marine that was just could run an 1833 mile being 290 pounds? Oh my gosh, right?
wow, and you're a tall dude too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But come finding out those late night stacks, all the other stuff, it was really because of late night stress. It was because of financial stress. And once I got a hold of that, my social arenas, the people I talked to, started to stop changing. You know, everything changed little by little. I didn't have to drop anybody. I didn't feel bad about getting a gift. You know, I didn't feel bad about getting a snow cone. You know, because it's $4 or $5. You know, and it changed because it was more for the experience. And now, even though that my life, I don't know how much time I have left, but everyone around me, that is, especially my family, is just, they know that they're loved. And it's not because of the money, it's because of the experiences that we have and not having a financial stress on me, and just knowing where I can budget and knowing when to say no. You know, that just changed my whole life. It's amazing.
I have to say you brought that up, and I was so glad you started talking and I didn't need to respond because I got a little bit emotional for a hot minute there because I remember.
Yeah.
I remember not being able to sleep at night. I remember thinking the baby formula's almost gone and I don't get paid until Friday. What am I going to do? And just that, I mean, it was horrible. It was so horrible. And so if you guys are watching this, and you find that you're in a situation where you can't sleep at night, you're worried about retirement and living off of Social Security, you're worrying about your kids going off to college and you don't know how you're going to be able to help them, whatever it might be,
Right.
please reach out. Please reach out. Get some objective help that can really make a big difference in your life because it's been a long time since I have lost sleep over money. I had almost forgotten until Brandon brought it up. So now I'm filled with gratitude because when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to sleep so well. And Brandon, I know you will too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned something, my friend, and I was like,
Yeah.
did he see my slides ahead of time? For
What?
those of you watching, he has no clue what we're going to talk about tonight. I don't send the slides. I'm like, oh, we're just going to have a conversation. It'll be fine. So here we are. Confidence.
We do this a lot.
Yeah, we do. But when people see us together, Brandon, we both do exude confidence, positivity,
Yeah.
joy, gratitude. Doesn't it feel good to know that? I
We know
mean, it
what crap
feels so
feels like.
good.
we,
Yeah,
we know what the opposite is.
we
There's no point
do.
of it when you can know that you can have this right here. Why
Mhm.
not be excited about what possible? You're not a tree. Just
Yes.
because you're a result of what you've done up to this point or your way of thinking, and you could just completely change it around tomorrow. You
Yeah.
don't have to work where you're working at. If you hate your job, why don't you try out something new? If you see some other people that are actually legitimately happy doing what they're doing, you might want to call.
Right?
Because there's something that they have that you don't, and it's not just taking it away. Because it's a lifestyle.
It
The
is.
no, why do you work?
Unknown
Is
caller.
Way
why
to go, Brandon. For those of you watching, we now officially have yet to have one webinar where somebody's phone didn't go off. I really thought tonight was going to be the night. It was not the night. So come back next week.
they
Maybe
listen.
next week it'll be the night.
They listen. They
But
listen.
oh, I see a child.
Oh,
But let's go ahead and move off the screen, sweetie, because
yeah,
YouTube does not like that.
yeah. Let's not do
She's
that.
so beautiful. I love your
Well,
children.
you know why she came in here is because I'm doing this with other kids as well, and I'm teaching them ways to make money. And when we came to this book, when she's seen this book, she went through it, and she went through it on her own. She's 8 years old, and
Yeah.
she just started going through the book, and she started teaching and learning, and she has made now. I think that she came up with several business ideas, and two that we've already implemented because she read this book. So don't
Mhm.
take this away from children as well. This is something that you can study. We're homeschoolers, so we could sit down and we study finances with our children, and we teach them the opportunities and how to set these goals and where they're going. And so they're not distracted when the little shiny stuff comes into the way. So she probably thought it was just another
Yep.
business meeting. I apologize.
Well, no, no, no. Please don't apologize. You know
Yeah.
I love your children. In fact, it's about time for your annual visit. So
Yes.
I have to say, I was so impressed, and I won't say their names because, we've got a large audience, but
Right.
so impressed by that 8-year-old. And just you've done a great job with your children. And I love even more than what she's learning and what all three of them are learning. I love that you are normalizing the conversation. You're teaching them that it's okay to talk about money. It's okay to talk about making these decisions, and it helps your relationships. And so that is just absolutely fantastic.
Uh,
Now, I have to say, growing up, we didn't talk about it. There were a
uh,
lot of things we did not talk about. And when I was getting my doctorate, they were just starting to figure out some of the differences between men and women, right? Like they were just starting to figure that out. And little girls are raised differently than little boys. They actually started a class just for women, teaching them how to negotiate because that was really lacking in the professional world. That was one of the main reasons women were paid less than men. We didn't ask for more. We took what they offered and said, "Thank you. I'll be here on Monday." And so
wow.
I think it's fantastic that you are teaching your daughters to not only, have those conversations, but you're instilling those principles in them. So good job, Brandon.
Well, I also put good, strong leadership in front of them. Strong leaders, and one of those leaders is you. From the start of this, because I want them to be around strong women. They need to learn how teaching women how to lead, because naturally, right now in this 21st century, um, the old model is gone. We need more women leading. and there's no doubt that they have all the skills necessary to be to really take this to another level, not for society's sake. I mean, just the planning aspect, the emotional intelligence, everything about um, how the nature that separates them, it just makes things so much better and working in harmony. And that's why we get along so well. I'm going to tell you, it's because I listen.
You
I
do,
listen, and I listen
usually.
to you. It's just when I'm right.
Stay tuned for a webinar in the future. How to teach
Yes, let's,
Brandon when he's not right. No, I'm just kidding. Brandon is fantastic, which is why he was invited to join me on this webinar. Nothing but respect and love for you, my friend.
same.
But you did talk about relationships, earlier on in the webinar. And again, I started getting a little bit emotional because I was on the flip side of that. I watched my first marriage fall apart over 14 years. And
Yeah.
I think it was because of that financial stress. So, what are some things people can, what can they do to strengthen not only their financial situation, but their relationship, especially when we're talking about money?
That is that is such a complex, easy question. But
I'm giving you all the hard questions, and I just kind of comment.
uh, uh, one, I just have to say, accept personal responsibility of where you're at and realize that even though that you see that the house is burning down, the other one may not. So that negotiating tactics, and then a touch in a delicate way, in a delicate way is that's always so important with doing that, to bring awareness. And that's where having a third party comes in. That's a good mediator way to do that. And I'm not talking about someone uh, that isn't in their field,
Right.
We're
Don't just
talking.
have your neighbor come over as a mediator. Get someone that actually understands the consequences of your financial choices.
Right.
Well, I love how you said to accept personal responsibility,
Yeah.
because this isn't about he's right, she's right, and you're fighting it, against each other. It's just about acknowledging reality for what it is and coming together so that you're both winning. I used to hear this phrase, do you want to be right or do you want to be happily married? And I used to just laugh at that, but there's a little bit of truth to that. Now, I'm right, I would say 99% of the time, but there are times when it's just not worth proving it, and I'll be like, you may be right. And then I'll walk away because I know I'm right. Nobody else needs to know. It's fine.
Well, you're also a leader, so I'm going to tell you this. This also applies to business relationships too. Okay, because right now we know that right now in this period of time, our business owners, you're either really, really flourishing in some areas, or either you're really kind of like, okay, we're hunkering down here. So if you are in that team environment, it's super important to be on the same page with those and with your accountant, and also having this like the extra level because we're all trained in finances somewhat, right? But you got to realize that you're not in it by yourself, and you have a team. You
Hmm.
can't just go at this. This is a bigger. If a bank is collapsing, if the world economy is in trouble, well, don't go at this by yourself. Go for someone that is totally on your side, that wants to help you and actually has the ability, the technology, and the awareness to do so.
What's so cool is that we really do personalize it. And so,
Mhm.
so many of our senior financial professionals, they have decades, I mean, decades of experience. And so, whatever it is, you may need help with, if it falls outside my area of expertise, then I got a guy, to coin that phrase. I mean, I got a guy. Yeah, he's done that a million times. Like, I think I've mentioned Anthony Gambali before, and I absolutely love his experience with managing 401ks. for, I believe, the school districts and a local hospital, up in New York and all of that. You've got Eric Gustafson that worked for Dun and Bradstreet for like 30 or 40 years. I
Right.
mean, it's incredible. And we have so many more, but we know each other on such a personal level and we know the areas of expertise. So no matter what we run into in a situation, we collaborate together. And that's the beauty of virtual financial because I
Yeah.
don't know that anyone else does that. We do that. It
Only
doesn't
when you
matter
do.
which agency you're in, whose team you're on, none of that matters. We collaborate together company wide and it's fantastic.
That's because it's 10 years in the making. They've been
Yeah.
doing this and they've actually perfected it. Um, I was in a, you can't beat it. I mean, you just can't beat it. It's so stinking efficient that it works so well that you could take someone that's from a totally separate career has anxiety and then they need to do something different, and you could plug them right in where they fit in, and they can actually find their way. And you had
Yes.
that guidance there, so you're on a successful start, and it just you couldn't be in a better field right now to do this. By the way, we're building an army of teachers to do this because this is a huge problem. It is a huge problem, and if it was to happen to someone in your family, that you would want to be there for them. And so, if this is something that you could see yourself doing in the future, there's something that it tugs at your heartstrings a little bit, and you want to be that person to go out here and help people, then well, just know you're accepted here. Um,
Yeah.
the financial sector is very small. It's very huge, but these relationships, this is your life.
I
Um,
got to say though, Brandon, I'm a little bit picky. I'm a little bit picky, and so if you're one of those people where you're just and you have a really bad attitude, or you don't care about helping people on a very real or personal level, or maybe you're just all about what's in it for me, and you're not a team
yeah,
player, you're not coachable, you're not teachable. Yeah, this probably wouldn't be a good fit for you.
right,
But if you actually care about people, if you want to help people, I mean, it's one of the reasons I do these webinars. I don't benefit from doing these webinars. I don't benefit from leading the women at Virtual Financial or the hours I spend on the phone helping different people in the company do different things. But I do benefit because when one of us wins, we all win.
yeah.
And that's the kind of teamwork and the spirit that I really appreciate here at Virtual Financial. So thank you for bringing that up, Brandon. Now, if somebody does want to work with you, what is and I apologize for Margaret and Kim's names are still on here that should say Brandon. So I'm going to go back. What is the best number for people to reach you at?
813-944-2008 is the best number to reach me. And if I don't answer the phone right then, be assured I'm going to call you right back. But again, we help out a lot of people.
Okay,
Um,
so Brandon, what phone number is this that I put on the screen?
that is my personal number. So
Oh, so we'll take that off the screen then. My bad. Okay. Well, I've
yeah,
got his number
for that right
scrolling
there,
along the bottom of the window there,
for
so
that
you all
right
can see
there,
that.
if anyone wants to work with me directly, absolutely use my personal number. If
Yeah.
you are a veteran and you are opening up a business, you're going through some things and you're ready to go, give me a call. If you're having an issue, or if you're a female that wants to know how to bring this up to your husband, well, absolutely. I give you the guy's perspective, just like I would my sister, and
That's
we'll
right.
get through it together because you're not alone. That is the one thing I have to keep emphasizing enough. Over 70, maybe even greater now, percent of homes here in America are in financial stress right now.
Yeah.
So just know that we're here for you. And Sasha, thank you just for an incredible, incredible interview. When I go out here and I'm looking at, because I follow the market heavily, and when I look at you, your passion just shines through, and anyone that works with you is going to be successful. And I mean that just for not from now. I'm seeing this. like 10 years from now, they just keep adding on. And that's why I think that you've been so successful, is because you just keep going. You're so consistent, and you're just
You're
on
gonna
point
make me cry,
every
Brandon.
single time. You just keep going. And that's it's wonderful. Thank you for getting this message out here, fighting a good fight.
Absolutely. And I got to say, I'm really excited that you were not only able to join me tonight, but now expect a phone call because I'm going to be bringing you on a lot more often, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and so many of your personal experiences. And again, for those of you watching, take mental health seriously. Money, yeah, it's going to help, but there are other things that affect our mental health as well. If you need help, the number is at the bottom of the screen. You know how to reach me. Now you know how to reach Brandon. Reach out to somebody before it's too late. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us. Brandon, always a pleasure, my friend. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night.